My name is Anna. I was born in Detroit and I lived there for about 38 years. And then I moved to Fremont and I lived there for around 48 years. Yeah, 48 years. No, my mom and dad were born on a Greece island. It was right by Turkey. It was called Samos. My grandfather, who was my dad's father, had a slew of children. He had 13 children. And he had two sets of twins, my father and his brother, but they were fraternal twins. My father had a rough life. He finished school with the 8th grade education, and my grandfather told him he had to go to work in Turkey with a rich family so he could send money back to him. So my father really had it rough. Then later, I think my dad was 18, or before he turned 17 years old, his grandfather told him to go to the U.S. And I was like, all right, whatever, I'll go. But man, was it rough. He almost starved. He moved to Chicago, and there was really nothing there for him. And I don't know how long he lived in Chicago, but eventually he went to Michigan. Now, my mother, she came to the U.S. with her father. And her father was a priest. A Greek Orthodox priest. My mom moved to the U.S. and met my father, and they got married in Detroit. And they had 3 girls. I was the middle child. I was born hearing, and I don't know how many months old I was. But my mom, I don't know. My dad, he tried to tell me, but my mom, every single time my dad would try to tell me the story, she would tell him, "Stop, don't believe your father." So I don't really know, but as far as I know, my mom took care of me as far as my health went when I was a baby. And we went to my aunt's home. And a friend of my aunt had brought her baby boy. And he was sick, and I ended up getting sick from him. I got whooping cough. I had pneumonia. And I also had meningitis, but I don't really know everything. But the doctor told me that, I was gonna die that night. I was hopeless. But my parents said that their friends told them to put onions and chop them up and put them on my chest, and it would help me breathe. And it saved my life, but it did not save my hearing. I lost my hearing. We didn't have good communication. Everybody would always talk, and they spoke the Greek language. And my dad would talk with my two sisters and everything, but I just never got anything out of the conversation. I'd get a little bit here and there, and I would try to read their lips, but it's a long story, and I just wouldn't get anything really from it. My deaf friend, she was from Pennsylvania, and she came to Detroit to work, and she taught me sign language. So we would chat together. She was really, good at signing, and she knew how to read lips. But my boss would always peek in, and he would always tease me. But anyways, she one time asked me if I wanted to go out to a deaf club. And I said, yeah, sure. I was 18 years old, and so we went, and I went into the deaf club, and when I got there, I was just dumbfounded. I did not understand anything. All I saw were hands welling in the air, and so I asked her if she could teach me, and they taught me. My mother was against it. She thought it was awful. So I went to a deaf club, and my mom and dad were home. So I walk into the house, and my parents were just looking at me. And they got my attention, and they said, "What are you doing?" I said, "You left me alone. I had to make friends with deaf people." And then I walked out. So I went and I met a deaf man. He said that he was from South Dakota. We were chatting and everything. And a few months went by, and we were at the deaf club. And I saw him standing there. This is his sign name. Anyways, I met up with him again, and we started having a conversation, and we started dancing. And then he asked me to go out with him on a date. So I said, all right, I'll go out. It was a good time. But after that, he kept on asking me out persistently. Every single week, once a week, he would ask me. I was like, you go out with other people. And he said, no, 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 no. He likes me. So I said, all right, fine. So we went steady for, I think it was like 8 months. And then we got engaged and married. I grew up with a hearing family, and my mom and dad were hearing, and they were all just chatting, and the conversation went so fast, and I just felt alone. But then when I got married to a deaf man, and we had a deaf family, and we would just sign. and we would just always have long, like good conversations.